Hi, this is Marla Robles, and I'm talking to you about how to use Screencast-O-Matic. So one of the things that we find in a classroom is that we have a lot of ideas and things that we want to do, and we have to have the tool to make them work. So there's this huge movement called flipped classrooms, and I've seen teachers with video cameras. They'll use the little flip cameras. They'll take a digital camera. They'll take a computer, anything they can find to record themselves. Because the point of the flipped classroom is that you record either a lesson that you're doing in the class so students can go home and review, or more often material that you want them to watch at home and understand, so when they come to class they can then move on to the next step. So you have to have the appropriate tool to do something like flipped classroom. We also have moved from a structure where it's always the teacher and the student in a face-to-face environment to something called a blended learning environment. So some of the interactions that we have with students are face-to-face, and some of the interactions that we have with students are now on the computer. And because we're doing both, we call that a blended learning environment. We also have found as educators that students always need help with their homework. So some teachers, like my son's high school teacher, sent out her personal cell phone number for students to text with what they needed. I prefer the flipped version where I'm now screencasting how to do it, and parents and students can log on, open up the video and go, "Oh, this is what she means by diagramming a sentence. Oh, that's how you solve the math problem." So instead of a million emails or a bunch of notes the next day going, "I didn't understand how to help my child with this new way of doing things," instead of that, they now go watch the video and say, "Oh, I understand the new math," which is really exciting for them. Another thing that I've come across is there are particular students whose IEPs or 504s will say that you need to give them directions multiple times. In fact, some IEPs will even go as far to specify how many times a student has to receive the directions for an assignment before they can be expected to complete the assignment. And then I just have students who can't follow the directions the first time. They need them again because they can't process that quickly. So instead of the entire class waiting for me to give directions over and over and over again, it's much easier to screencast me giving the directions and say, "Okay, you students who need it again, here are the directions," and just have them watch it and revisit it as many times throughout the entire assignment as they need. So it doesn't even just have to be at the beginning of the assignment. Maybe they get halfway and forgot what the directions said. They can go back and watch me giving them again. They can go back and view the written directions as well again. Another thing that I found really, really helpful is when you sit down and conference with students who are not doing as well as they anticipated, they want you to explain each individual part of the grade. Well, you marked off 2 points here, and I don't understand why I didn't get the highest part here. So when you have these students who want to take up a lot of your classroom time going over the grading process, instead of doing it that way with the students, you can go ahead and screencast you grading their assignment digitally, and you can talk through it with them and say, "Okay, so you didn't do as well in this part because I was looking for words like this," or "You put the comma in the wrong place, so that's one grammatical error, so here's 2 grammatical errors and 3 grammatical errors." So then when you sit down and have the student conference, instead of nitpicking through the entire assignment, then they can come to you with an understanding of how the grading works and some real questions and conversation about how they can do better and what proofreading techniques to use, or what different ideas that you can have with them about how to improve it, instead of them asking you to explain how you graded everything. Another thing that I've used with older students is I've had them document the process as they go through and create an assignment for me. This is generally for longer projects. So they'll go through and show me where they are in the project at this point. And then they upload this short 3-minute clip that I watch of where their project is and how they're doing digitally at the end of every class period. So now in 3 minutes, I know if they've accomplished their tasks for the day. So I think these are just some of the ideas that you can use screencasting for. So when I start talking about screencasting, I have all different levels of teachers, and some of them start to ask me things like, where do I find a screencaster? How do I do that? That sounds really, really difficult. So my favorite digital screencaster is Screencast-O-Matic. And one of the reasons I love this particular one is that you can go ahead and do it right here on the site. So if you click this button right here, it pulls up the site, and you know you're on the site because it looks like this. So you'll notice that it has a login button and it has a sign up button. I have never logged in, never signed up for Screencast-O-Matic. You don't have to have an account to do that. You can simply click this start recording blue button right here and start recording right now. So most of the computers that I've used will automatically let you just start screencasting on the site just as soon as you click that button. Some computers, especially I have a Windows 10 computer that has all of the little icons just like you have on your phone, so everything is an app on the computer. That computer no longer works with it until after you download the app. Because it's an app-based computer, it requires you to click download the app before you can use it, and then you have to use it in an app, similar to how Adobe Connect now has to be in an app for this particular computer. And then I've had a few computers that it's set for permissions. When you run something new on the computer, it asks you, are you going to allow it to run that? So you have to click on allow it this time or always run it on this site. So either one of those will work. And then once you push the record button, you're going to see a box in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, and you should actually see the narration register right there as you speak. So you'll see this bar that says narration, and it looks kind of like this. This is a screenshot. I use the snipping tool, which is a tool that we'll cover next. And I just took a screenshot of what you're actually going to see on the screen. So this narration bar will fill up with green, yellow, red. And if you don't see those things, then you need to click here so that you can go ahead and enable it so that it can hear you talking as you're recording. So when you talk about recording, you need to decide what it is you're trying to record. Are you just sharing the screen? Because we're in a completely online digital learning environment, I've chosen to share both, not just my screen and not just me on the web camera. So if I share just the screen, you don't see me at all. If I share the web camera, you see me and nothing I'm doing on the computer shows up. If I choose both, you're going to see me in the bottom right hand corner, and you're going to see everything I'm doing on the screen. So not only do you get to feel like you connect with me a little bit, you also get to see what it is I'm trying to show you to do on the screen. So then you have all of these options for how to record. The biggest one I found is just choosing what part, whether you want the screen, the webcam, or both, and then resizing. So you have these little screen sizers on the edge, and it's just a little dotted line that goes around the outside of your screen. You can change that dotted line to be as big or as small as you want so that you can resize it if you want. And then this one is always a fun one. So if you're showing video, or if you're showing a PowerPoint that makes sounds, you want to turn on the computer audio just so it can hear the noise coming from the computer as you're talking. So while you're recording, you're going to see this little thing here across the screen, and you're going to see this one as well. So this one just says I'm recording. Click. When you're done, you'll see it come up, and you can say, oh, I like that recording because I played it back on this one, and I like that recording, so I'm done. I'm going to keep it. You can throw it away in the trash can and start again because it was terrible. Or just replay it as many times as you want until you decide you're satisfied with it. So sometimes that's what I'll do. I'll play it. I'll say that was awful. Delete it. I want to start again. Or sometimes I'll just go back a certain amount and re-record from that spot. So you can choose to save it in different ways. So you can see that the ways that I save it, I can save it as a video file to my computer and then share it with you. I can save it to the site, which I've never done because I don't want to have to log in. But you can definitely have a login, create a login to the site and save it to the site and upload it there. Or you can upload it to YouTube. And of course, if you don't have a YouTube account, I can take you through that pretty simply. It's a really easy process. So once we find how wonderful this tool is and decide to start using it, we need to revisit what you can and cannot do with students. Terms of service of every new product are really important. So the first time you go to use a new tool, you want to know whether or not you're allowed to do it. There are a lot of privacy laws that protect students on the internet and with using technology. So you always look at the terms of service. So Screencast-O-Matic terms of service is 13 and over. So you can use it with students when you record you. You can use it when you record your computer screen. You can do that because you're 13 and over. You are over 13, so you use it all you want to share with the students. Now, here's what I do. When I have a class of students under 13, I send out a list at the beginning of the year. These are all the websites that I want to use with your students that I need your permission to use. And then the parents sign them all at once. So I send them pretty much a form letter with everything I want to use for the year. And this is why. Because students love to use technology. So I've used Prezi with students. I've used Google Maps where they create a path and actually follow a historical event through history. I've done different timeline devices, just different software with students that not everybody is going to take the time to learn. So one of the facets of the project is that they actually create a screencast teaching us how to use the new tool. They love that. That's one of their favorites. Another thing that they love to do is my students who really struggle with their math want me to watch them solve problems. So instead of watching them solve problems for 30 minutes of my class time, they can record themselves just showing me the problems that they're struggling with. I can watch the video, and then when we get to class, I already know what they need help with. I don't have to start from scratch. I don't have to have them explain it to me. Another thing is when I do the really long projects, students like these interactive projects. So this is a way to have an interactive project with them, or for them to record how they're doing on their project in smaller increments. We also do a lot of book reviews in our ELA classes. So I want to get kids reading, so I show them my favorite books and I talk about my favorite books, and then we post it on the school news, and all of these different teachers are talking about their favorite books. Well, then the students get excited and they want to share their book reviews, and it's a great way for them to be on camera showing their book reviews. So I have them create just a short video or a short PowerPoint, and then I use the feature where they're talking and then it cuts to the screen and then they're talking again, so you can see them giving their book review. I've also used it with literature circles. So I need to spend my day today with this literature circle, but I have 2 more and I don't know what they're doing in literature circles. I hope they're doing what I've told them and I've trained them to do in their literature circle, but I can't guarantee it. Well, now I can. I simply record it with Screencast-O-Matic, and then they send me at the end of the class their screencast, and it has their voices and everything they've done for their literature circle. I watch it at home, and I'm sure that I know what they're doing. My favorite thing to do here is to use these tools to build a digital community. Our students really need to learn to communicate with each other, not just in the classroom to build a healthy community, but also to do that digitally. Students make so many mistakes online. This is one of those times where you can teach them how to use the tools appropriately and how to use them to support each other and build a better digital community. So at this point, we're going to break and you're going to brainstorm for about 5 minutes different ideas of how you would use it in your classroom. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and come together in our small groups and create some of the lesson plans using Screencast-O-Matic.